Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Welcome back to a brand new update video on the channel today. Hope you guys are keeping well. There has been some interesting pieces of news dropping over the last 24 hours or so since my last video. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit bunged up, like I mentioned yesterday, but it has been a very productive day for me. Hopefully I can tell you a little bit more about that in the future. Not necessarily Wolves or Talking Wolves related, but you know, we'll wait and see. But let's try and smash 400 likes on today's video. As always, subscribe to the channel. And very interestingly, before I carry on, I met somebody today at Molyneux who said their family watches these videos whilst having their tea. Like their dinner. So if you are also involved in that camp, let me know, and let me know what you're eating as you watch this video. I'll be very interested, but it's always fun and interesting to know where you guys are listening or watching from as well. But let's jump into the news. Juan Lu Sanchez, you're probably bored of me mentioning this guy's name, the right back from Sevilla. Over the last week or so, I've sort of been a little bit of a roller coaster, been all over the place in regards to what I'm mentioning with this guy, but it's almost taken like a little bit of a U-turn, and it just seems like potentially Wolves are still in the race for this guy. I mentioned yesterday that there was an article from the Mail that said basically when Wolves were talking to the players' representatives, there were some red flags being brought up in regards to relegation clauses. But a little piece of news, for argument's sake, yesterday, Fabrizio Romano mentioned that Sevilla had rejected Napoli's latest offer, and Wolves were really the only team to have put forward a package that suited both parties. Napoli have now said, look, we're not going any higher than what we've already said. And I thought to myself yesterday, I think Wolves are waiting for this guy. I think the fact that we haven't really sort of pursued any of our right-backs right now is that I think Wolves do want this Juan Lu Sanchez. And we had a report again from Liam Keane today that said Wolves are remaining interested in the right-back. Of course, there's still other players being lined up in the case that this deal does not materialise, but Wolves still want this player, and of course the right wing back position is the priority, or one of the priorities for Wolves this summer. So I think this weekend could see some progression on this deal because you go into the last week of the season. Ideally I think Wolves probably would have wanted this done earlier this week. Try and get him around for the Celta Vigo game, which is tomorrow. But yeah, Juan Lu Sanchez looks like he could be a player. Now, it's interesting because what I've mentioned before, there's been reports in Spain or Italy saying the player doesn't want to join Wolves. Of course, there was reports from the Daily Mail yesterday. This is just hearsay and rumours. So I think it would be very, not harsh, of course, because you have to go on what you've been told and what you've read and heard. But I think, I don't think Wolves would be continuing to pursue this deal if that was the case. I think if Wolves know that he was flatly not interested, Wolves wouldn't continue pursuing it. So, we'll wait and see. See if he's holding the shirt in the next week or so. See if he signs on the dotted line. Who knows? But Juan Lu Sanchez at the moment seems to be a player that Wolves are still actively looking at. Another player Wolves are said to be looking at is Matteas Abene from Nantes in France. The young French forward, under 21 international for France, had a really productive year last season, 11 goals for the French club, and Wolves are said to be working on a potential deal for this player. That was from Liam Keane and John Percy and Mike McGrath at the Telegraph. Very good level of journalists there as well. So, interested in this one. I think he's a very talented young player. This is a perfect sort of player for Wolves. Could play through the middle, could play off the striker as well, which I think would work for Wolves in what they're looking for as well. Fits a lot of the roles. However, in France at the moment, Paris FC are also looking at a potential deal for him, and it's reported in France that they've had a €25 million bid rejected for Abene. So I'm really interested to see what happens with this deal. It said that, I think L'Equipe in France said that Nantes want around €50 million for him, which of course is nowhere near the budget that Wolves would have to spend on this specific position, especially as it's not as a replacement for Jurgen Strand-Larsen. This is a player to accompany Jurgen and play alongside him or play backup to him as well. Of course, that 50 million price tag may well be because Nantes do not want to sell to a direct rival in France. But the fact that the Telegraph and the fact that Express and Star have both reported on this interest, to me, seems like there is something in this deal. It's very rare that you would get the British journalists, the top-end British journalists, report on these players if there wasn't an element of truth in it. So let's wait and see. Hopefully, the wheels are starting to turn sooner rather than later. But, better late than never, maybe I should say. But hopefully the wheels are starting to turn, and hopefully, like I said many times, the dominoes are starting to fall. One of those dominoes may well be Fabio Silva. Again, not really being a major update on him. Daily Express reported that Dortmund have had an offer knocked back. They've put forward, including add-ons, an overall package of around £20 million, 20 million euros, I should say. Wolves are wanting closer to sort of 25 million euros as an overall package. Saw today Fabio Silva on his Instagram, part of the winning team. I would be so intrigued to see if he's part of the matchday squad tomorrow. Of course, he's not been part of any of the matchday squad so far. Could he be part of this matchday squad? I don't know. It's just, part of me thinks if this deal doesn't get done, is there a future for Fabio Silva? But at the moment, it does look like Dortmund are still favourites for his signature at the moment. Another player that could move on is Sasha Kalajdzic. There's just been reports just before I recorded this video coming from Italy that Cremonese, who are in the top division of Italy, are looking at Sasha Kalajdzic on a potential loan deal with an option to buy of just around 4 million euros. Obviously, a massive loss on what Wolves would have paid for him. But I don't know. I think Wolves, and it's rubbish from a business point of view. Of course, we've made money on players and we have lost money on players as well. But I think Wolves are sort of trying to clear out this dead wood this summer. I'm not against it as long as obviously we stay in the Premier League, but 4 million euros isn't a lot of money, but ultimately Wolves obviously do not see a future for Sasha Kalajdzic here. Of course, we've had to take it easy, but there's even big games where I think he could have got more game time and Vitor Pereira hasn't given it to him. So Sasha Kalajdzic could be moving on as well. Loan deal, which I think probably would work for both parties, but that option to buy is so small. Of course, that means there's no guarantee that he will definitely leave Wolves, but for 4 million euros, if he stays fit and has a half-decent season in Italy, that is probably a fee that will get triggered. So Sasha could maybe be going out on loan, but you would expect deals like that to be sanctioned, and the Fabio deal to be sanctioned once I have deals like maybe the deal for Matteas Abene lined up. Which I would have said about Boubacar Traoré and Tommy Doyle, I suppose. You know, you would have assumed that we would have had a central midfielder lined up before we let them go, but obviously that wasn't the case. And finally, another right-back rumour coming from Italy as well, Tutto Sport in Italy. Nicolo Savona, who I did mention before, the Juventus right-back. I don't know about this one. They said that Wolves have put in a concrete inquiry in the last day or so. And they said that Wolves could offer around 17 to 18 million euros plus some add-ons. But it's pretty much the same numbers that we have said to have offered for Juan Lu Sanchez. So I think this is just a pretty easy story to put together, and they've just said, oh look, this is the amount of money Wolves want to spend on a right wing back. We think they're going to offer this for Savona as well. So I wouldn't read into this one too much just yet, but again, Nicolo Savona could be a player that Wolves do have further down the list. But Juan Lu Sanchez, definitely for me now, one to watch. Real strange transfer saga that one is. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. But obviously a talented player that Wolves are keeping tabs on and hopefully can get a deal done for sooner rather than later. But as always, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Look after yourselves. I'll be back tomorrow with my reaction after the Celta Vigo game. And fingers crossed, Wolves do get a win to finish off pre-season. Just in a week now until the Premier League season starts. Really exciting. Also quite nervous. We could really do getting some more players through the door if we can. But as always, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'm sure I'll catch you all very, very soon.